Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Justin here, and welcome to the review of the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the S6 Edge. The year of 2014 was good and bad for Samsung. They started out a little bit weak with the Samsung Galaxy S5, and the sales definitely suffered from that device. However, towards the end of the year, with the major release of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, they definitely did show signs of life, and that led us to be very optimistic as to what we will see in 2015. And I'm going to tell you that they have definitely met, if not exceeded, those expectations with the recent release of their new flagship, the Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge. So to get the specs out of the way, the Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge feature a 5.1-inch 2560 by 1440 resolution 576 ppi QHD display. You have also got an Exynos 7 series octa-core 64-bit processor, 3GB of RAM, a 16-megapixel rear-facing camera, and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera. Both devices are available in 32, 64, and 128GB variants and support wireless charging out of the box. So the first thing I would like to talk about is the design, and Samsung has taken a huge step in the right direction this year. With the Samsung Galaxy S5, I'm sure we can all agree it wasn't the most beautiful device on the market. However, it was durable, still featuring a plastic construction. But year after year, people have been asking for a metal construction from Samsung, and with the release of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 and the Alpha series, we were certain that Samsung would make the jump to metal with their next flagship, and they did indeed. The Samsung Galaxy S6 has metal going all around the edge of the device with a Gorilla Glass 4 front and back. However, the new design did come with a few trade-offs. The back is no longer removable, meaning you cannot access the battery and swap it out. You also do not have a micro SD card slot for expandability. But just from looking at the device, in my opinion, it is absolutely beautiful, and I'm personally fine with those trade-offs. The device's glass finish definitely shimmers, and in my opinion, the white version looks beautiful. The S6 comes in at 6.8mm thick and weighs in at 138 grams, while the S6 Edge comes in at 7mm thick and weighs in at 132 grams. On the bottom, you will find your micro USB slots, including a microphone, a speaker, and also your 3.5mm headphone jack. On the left side of the device, you do have your volume rockers, which are separated. On the other side, you will find your sleep-wake button, and I have to say, I actually like the button placement. It was very comfortable, but I did find that the volume rockers were a little bit high for my liking. However, I suspect that Samsung had done that intentionally, as it isn't as easy to accidentally put your device to sleep while you're adjusting the volume, something that I do a lot on my iPhone 6. On the bottom of the device, everything stays pretty familiar. You do have your improved fingerprint sensor built into the physical home button, as well as a capacitive touch back button and menu button. In the past, the fingerprint sensor was something that I never really used on Samsung devices, as it just didn't work very well, but on the Samsung Galaxy S6 they have definitely done it right, and it is very fast. On the back of the device, you'll find your camera as well as your heart rate sensor, which personally I do not use. But just a final word on design, Samsung has done a sensational job in this category, and I am absolutely stunned. The device just looks so great with its chamfered edges, and personally I'm a huge fan of the white model. However, the glass back without a doubt poses a risk of cracking. When it comes to the display, we had an early indication as to what we should expect on the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which was announced late last year. With that QHD display being absolutely stunning, I was very excited to see it on Samsung's new flagship, the S6 and S6 Edge. You really can't go wrong with the pixel density of 576, and whether you're watching 4K YouTube videos, everything just looks so stunning on this display. Although Samsung has been known in the past to have very saturated displays, I noticed that the display on the S6 was still quite saturated, but not as much as I had seen in the past, bringing a very natural but vivid color. Text just pops out of the screen, and everything just looks so much better, despite the fact many people may say they do not need a QHD display. And I would have to agree with them in some parts, but once you see this display in person, you really can't go back to anything else. But now let's shift a little bit of focus over to the S6 Edge, and its Edge display of course, on both sides. Having seen the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 Edge, I thought Samsung was absolutely crazy. I really didn't see a purpose in it, and although it did look cool and had a few functions here and there with the applications, I really wasn't a fan of the Note 4 Edge, as you may have seen in my review. But as you can see on the S6 Edge, both sides are curved, which is much better than just having one side curved, and you can see the device itself just looks so beautiful in all of its curved as it wraps around the edge of the phone. And although Samsung has tried to introduce a few things here and there in terms of People Edge, ways to view your notification on the sidebar while your device is in sleep, or even the alarm clock, and even face down notifications with the light, I would say forget about all that. And really the reason why you would want to buy an S6 Edge is if you experience it in person and just really can't detach yourself from it. The edge of both sides is for visual appeal and not for the functional things you would want to do on it. Being able to slide out windows from the side of the Edge just gives it a little bit of realism to it with the material design that we see introduced across the board. But my word of advice to anybody out there considering the Edge is to try it out in person and you will know right away if you like it or not and whether it is worth the extra $100. Personally, after having some time with it for the past few days, I love it. And although it is a small and subtle curve on both sides, I think it looks absolutely beautiful. So now that we have covered much of the hardware, let's move on to the software. Both these devices do run Android 5.0 Lollipop with Samsung's TouchWiz skin, which in most cases for consumers is a love or hate relationship. Some people enjoy the feature-packed interface and the way that Samsung does things in terms of the visual appeal, while others just absolutely hate it and feel like it is way too busy and much of a departure from stock Android. And although a few years ago I was one to agree to that, I think Samsung has done a great job in toning things down over the past few years while still adding the Samsung twist of TouchWiz. Out of the box, you will notice that the interface is very snappy, and that is to be expected of a 64-bit interface with an octa-core processor. A great feature is to double tap your home button and it will bring up the camera right away in just 0.7 seconds and you're ready to snap your photo from anywhere. Also, gone is S-Voice as your default assistant. By holding on your home button, it will take you to Google Now, sort of like Siri on the iPhone. The newsreader to the left of your home screen is once again powered by Flipboard, and you can always disable that, but with Flipboard being my default newsreader, I definitely enjoyed the interface and the integration that Samsung has done with TouchWiz. But for the most part, things have stayed the same, but the biggest thing I've noticed is that everything is just so smooth. I didn't notice any occasional stutters whatsoever like I did with the S5. The notification tab has stayed pretty much the same, and Samsung has made a few noticeable refinements to the software and visual interface here and there, implementing a nice flat interface, and in general I don't have many complaints of TouchWiz. However, I'm sure with many Android users out there, you always still sort of miss stock Android one way or another. And I would love to try and flash stock Android onto my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge and make it sort of a Google Play edition, just for fun. When it came to the gaming performance on the S6, you definitely expect quite a bit. With the Exynos 7 processor powering a Quad HD display and 3 gigs of RAM, the performance is impressive. Games looked amazing on this display, and as you would expect, there wasn't any stutters or frame drops anywhere. And from the benchmark indications, this device is definitely future-proofed with all of the power it has and is capable of. So at this point of the video, I've made you guys wait long enough, so let's finally talk about the good old camera. Samsung in the past has put in some amazing cameras into their smartphones, dating back to the S3, the S4, and most recently the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, again giving me a huge indication of what to expect on the S6. Which by the way features a 16 megapixel rear facing camera with an f1.9 aperture and a 5 megapixel front facing camera. Also not to forget the 4K rear facing camera capabilities with optical image stabilization. Giving you guys a quick run at the camera app, a lot of things do stay the same, however the camera settings now is no longer a grid, which many may have found very intimidating. Now it is just a nice list view and everything stays very clean and bright, and you also have your quick toggle settings on the left side as well. On the bottom right side, you can adjust your modes, and you can also add some additional camera modes as well. You also have your standard camera switcher, and that is pretty much about it. And from looking at these samples, you will notice that Samsung did a great job in the camera once again, as expected. The sharpness was once again on point, and the color balancing is great, and the colors are also very vivid, as we have noticed in the past. That being said, the photos still maintained a nice and natural look and feel. The front-facing camera did a great job as well, and what I noticed compared to other smartphones is that it captures an extremely wide field of view, so you can fit way more people in your selfies. Moving on to the 4K UHD video sample, I would describe this as nothing short of eye candy. Everything is just so sharp, and things just seem to pop out of the screen. The color balancing did great, and the autofocus lock makes it so that the camera doesn't seem to hunt the focus as you pan around. I would have to say Samsung does have probably the best camera of any smartphone in the market. Due to the ability to capture a higher resolution and 4K video, something that the iPhone cannot do, while producing a great image quality. That being said, I'm also very excited to see what the LG G4 is able to offer. So at some point of this video, I also wanted to give you guys a really quick speaker test, as in the past Samsung has had their speakers located on the back of the device, which has been the easiest place to get muffled. But on the S6, much like the iPhone, the speakers are located on the bottom of the device, and although there aren't any boom sound speakers, I have to say it is definitely an improvement and they sound okay. So when you look at the spec sheet, you will see a Quad HD display, an octa-core processor, so on and so forth, which all point to the fact that it could be a battery hog. On the Samsung Galaxy S6, you have a 2550 mAh battery, and on the S6 Edge, you have a slightly larger 2600 mAh battery. From my uses, the battery life has been okay but not impressive. On the S6, I was able to get just about 7 hours, and on the S6 Edge, I was able to get anywhere from 6 to 6.5 hours of use. But the device just came out a week ago, so I definitely expect software updates to improve the battery life as we go on. One great thing though is that Samsung has included a fast charger in the box, which promises 50% of charge in just half an hour, and that sort of makes up for the lack of removable battery. The device is also capable of wireless charging right out of the box as well. Of course, you do also have the option to enable power saving and ultra power saving mode to maximize the battery life on your Samsung Galaxy S6. So now it's time to come to my conclusion, and I have to say Samsung has nailed it this year with their new flagships, the Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge. Being someone who wasn't a fan of the S5 at all last year, the S6 is definitely a huge improvement from Samsung. And you really have to credit Samsung for realizing their mistakes and coming out with what you could say is a brand new smartphone in just a year. And I have no doubt in my mind that this S6 Edge and S6 will do great in sales. You've got a great display, a fingerprint sensor, an octa-core processor, as well as a great camera, which really proves itself to be a future-proof product over the next few years, which is why I can definitely recommend it to anybody out there looking for a new smartphone. But this has just been a full review of the Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge, and be sure to leave a comment down below as to which one you prefer and what you think of Samsung's new flagships this year as a whole. As always, the links to purchase will be down in the description section as always, and be sure to hit that like button while you're at it as it helps the channel out a bunch, and I'll see you all in the next video.